Hi, everybody. It is September 18, 2024. Hope you're all doing well. I do know that several of my subscribers are not doing well, and I'm really sorry to hear that. That's all that needs to be said at this point right now. But who's in house? Alicia DeMoss, an analog synth player, L78, thank you. Geofactor 3. How you doing, Geofactor 3? Andrew Cruz, Justin Wynn, Shauna Howard, hi. Tony Punch, and Barb in Ohio. T. Lamb, thank you. And Agnes, Patricia White, hi. Oh, we've got Mark Anthony and Maximus and Czech Rock Stars. Hey, I've been thinking about you with the floods in Europe. Anywhere near your neck of the woods? NJ Northrop, hello. Okay, so avoided the floods and doing okay. Good. They didn't reach Prague. Okay. I'm glad you're okay, but there's an awful lot of people who aren't. DeMarque, Christopher Levens, James B. Hi, Silent Walk. Hello, everybody. So we're going to do a quick look at radar. And yes, I'm going to let you look too. Okay? There. So, yeah. This looks less weird now. I wish I had taken a capture of it, but it looked like there was just this hurricane. You know, these what looked like precipitation going up through Canada and then circling around into Montana. Got an awful lot of activation of the nanobots. Oh boy. Florida. Look at this. Severe weather for you. Look at all of this. It's so insane. You know, all right, so where you going? Where you going, nanobot precipitation? Going in all different directions. Who controls the weather, controls the world. Kansas, this doesn't look good. All right, a quick look at the severe weather warnings for Florida and Kansas. Tornado warning in Florida, Volusia. A severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado 7 miles northeast of Lake Helen. Be careful. And your severe weather warnings, Volusia, Florida, near Edgewater, and Comanche, Kansas, near Buttermilk. All right. Link to severe weather warnings. And radar. But I do want to show you what I captured early this morning, and real fisherman's life, or let's see. Yeah, real fishing life. What he captured this morning. I'll show you what I captured first. And this was also early morning yesterday, right here. Look at this up here, though. God, all of the extremely low frequencies blasting away very powerfully. How are you guys feeling in this area of the country? But this is insane. It's just utterly insane that we have weather fronts that look like this going into Canada, coming circling back around into Montana. It's okay, but it's starting here in Oklahoma. What? Yeah, you got the tail in Oklahoma and going through all of these states on up into Canada, coming back around. But this, okay, they're doing something with these frequencies, and unfortunately, what can happen with those frequencies is the biological effects are numerous, to say the least. This was yesterday morning at 7:57, well, my time, but hope you're doing okay. They really blasted Michiganders, and into Indiana and Illinois and Wisconsin. Really. All right. It's weird to see these weather fronts also coming in off the coast and just moving along in going west. That's not how it used to be. So, Real Fishing Life got it on College of DuPage.
This morning across Michigan and Alabama. They have the energy turned up a little bit too much this morning. Their technology cannot hide from their technology. These devices are used not for seeing the rain as much it is to create these rainstorms with these direct energy weapons that is inside these fiberglass domes. Undeniable, something is fishy going on here. Something very fishy. There's Michigan zoomed in along with Illinois and Wisconsin. Very powerful microwave energy here. Not necessary for seeing the rain, but necessary for creating the rain. There is no reason to have 6 or 7 next-red radar systems or 10 or a couple dozen radar systems in a little area like this to see the rain. These are microwave devices to create the rain. Could you imagine your body put on low in the microwave constantly? Basically what is going on here. Microwave energy is this frequency waves.
It's also the extremely low frequencies. Those are the long lines. So it's not just microwaves. You got blasted, you guys, in that area. You got blasted hard. Just see if anybody is writing anything about it. My heart is always racing. I was dizzy yesterday. But Sandra, you're in Florida, right? Not that it matters. I'm not Yeah, it's all right. So we got some weather reports, the flooding in North Carolina. And again, let me say this to you guys. We didn't hear anything about this. What one broadcaster said today was a potential cyclone. Now the language will all be the same in the New World Order. So that's why they're beginning to call hurricanes cyclones. We call them hurricanes, but Asia and they call them cyclones. So, but this flooding was so intense. Yes, it ripped up the roads, and when this kind of stuff happens, I know that just when I look at radar, I worry, especially when I see a supercell activation. I worry. You don't have to have an alert to have something happen like this.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for staying up late with us. I'm Francis Weller.
I'm John Evans. Southeastern North Carolina is recovering tonight after being slammed. Potential tropical cyclone 8 dumped feet of water into coastal counties today as it roared on shore.
Look at this. Potential cyclone number 8 or something. Really? Potential. So what? It didn't realize its potential? This was rain? This is what we got now. They're bringing it on, ripping up all of the infrastructure all over.
Sure.
The downpour sent water rushing across roads like a river, washing out several streets.
We have team coverage tonight as the flooding from the potential tropical cyclone's rains continue to impact many people in the area.
The flooding impacting homes, businesses, and mainly the roads tonight. This was the scene earlier today on Highway 17 in Brunswick County. Water flowed across the highway in the Supply and Bolivia areas, and it had drivers stranded for several hours. As far as the eye can see, many drivers without food, water, and medicine. The conditions forcing many water rescues, with some drivers still stuck at this hour.
Bolivia is where my house is and my kids and my wife, so just trying to figure out a way to get around to it. I've tried a couple back roads here, but the water is so high because of the river over by where Green Swamp is. It's 3 to 4 foot. There's several people who tried to cross it, and their car is in the middle of the road.
Look at this. This is a garage to a home. Okay. People aren't questioning this? Don't you think that they need to question how it is they got rain and this is the result? And everybody's just going to be believing it's climate change.
Waters are at dangerous levels in North Carolina right now. In some spots, cars are almost completely covered by the water. Highways are flooded as well. The Brunswick County Sheriff's Office shared these videos taken from above showing a highway just simply covered in water. There used to be a highway there. Now it's nothing but water. Now the area got as much as 20 inches of rain on Monday. And this that you're watching now, this is the aftermath of some parts of the state. Now you can see the road. This is in Brunswick County. It was completely buckled. Floodwaters also damaged several homes and businesses there.
It drives me nuts that, they get rain now and you can end up with, really? And as far as I'm concerned, this is a result of the extremely low frequencies that they use to steer or intensify, modify the weather. All right, well, the floods in Europe. I'm just going to play a few minutes of this, but this is an update, and there's an awful lot of people who are still sitting in a lot of water. I apologize. I meant to leave the link to the radar. There it is. And the link to the update. Yeah, they're really bringing it on. I mean, the amount of destruction caused by weather, I've said this every single year. It's worse than I've ever seen, and I've been doing this for 13 years. Posting an awful lot, checking out what's happening in the world, in our country. And it just keeps getting worse.
At least 21 people are now known to have died in flooding across Central and Eastern Europe. A major low-pressure system over northern Italy has sent record amounts of rain across Austria, the Czech Republic, Poland, Hungary and Romania. So these are the rainfall forecasts for the next few days, with the heaviest precipitation marked in dark blue. With river levels still rising, evacuations are continuing.
The classrooms at this school in Romania should be filled with children at this time of day. Instead, their teachers are busy cleaning up the damage from days of flooding.
Last time we had floods, the water didn't enter the school. Now we have no more laptops to work. My house is also flooded for the first time. I know how the children and their parents feel.
These books and toys at a nearby kindergarten were new just a week ago and are now destroyed. The county of Galați in eastern Romania was one of the areas worst affected by the floods that inundated Central and Eastern Europe. And as residents here come to terms with the extent of the damage, other parts of Europe are still bracing for the arrival of floodwaters.
Yeah, like here, their hurricanes or their storms, they just never end. So tomorrow, I have no doubt that I'm going to see an awful lot of videos on Italy flooding. Half the country is on fire. Portugal. Look at these fires.
Powerful forest fires have engulfed the Aveiro district, affecting more than 5 municipalities. Villages engulfed in flames have forced the evacuation of local residents.
It looks like a bomb. It looks like a bomb.
Thick smoke from the fires, caused by strong winds and high temperatures, has enveloped the area. The fires have already burned down about 2,000 houses and continue to spread along the industrial and residential perimeter. Around 1,500 firefighters were working across the country where temperatures reached 30 degrees Celsius. A state of emergency has been declared in several municipalities.
It is very. So, what? 24 homes destroyed. Southern California wildfires destroy homes as more evacuations are ordered. Not entirely sure because, well, our mainstream media, you would think that they would at least say what fire, did this, because the 3 fires are still going and going pretty strong. But I want to bring your attention to, well, I just find it odd that this plant that looks kind of dry wasn't touched at all, right? But look at this. Okie dokie. Cloth umbrellas. But the fire was right here. All right. That to me is a little strange. And they're not even, they look clean. They look untouched completely. Okay, so they are really destroying China big time. I can't, it's hard. It's hard to see China, so many villages, so many areas are getting completely and utterly destroyed. Dams collapsing.
Sichuan Province, China, September 18th, 2024. A landslide occurred in Wolong Town, Wenchuan County, Sichuan Province, in the early hours of September 16th, 2024, following a period of heavy rainfall.
아무것도 다가이 아래. 알아. 야봐요. 그래 뭐 나지 못해. 야.
I'll post the link. And considering all of mainstream media's articles on China and their weather modification programs, how anybody could think and not even factor in weather modification in China is really quite extraordinary.
And then go to all of the TikTokers and see what they're really saying.
Okay. We need to. I want to thank my subscriber for sending this along.
Zero, and it's called C40 Cities. I would urge you to certainly look on the internet about it and then go to all of the TikTokers and see what they're really saying. Basically, you won't be able to drive a petrol or diesel car anymore. You'll have to buy electric. If you want food, you will get a calorie controlled system sent to you by text saying, this is what you can eat today. This is what you can have today. If you violate any of these things, they'll freeze your bank account. That is the next step. These are stages in which they're going to implement this stuff. And this was signed up by the WEF, and the WEF has signed up with our mayor in London as the chair. And he has gone around the world to communicate this C40 to all of the countries in the world. And most of the countries are looking at adopting it. Now, I am going to abolish it. It is a hopeless position. We are going to be in an open prison, or shall we say a COVID, for the rest of our lives. We will not be able to work unless it's in our 15-minute city. It's diabolical. It's not this is not the right thing. And it's been hidden from the public. No one's talking about it.
And it's all due to climate change. The massive lie put out to the world. Okay. So, gotta fight the evil. You gotta fight them. You gotta fight them hard. You have to have a very, very big and powerful army of good out there fighting the evil. Otherwise, this is what is coming our way. And yeah, Sadiq Khan, who's the mayor of London, is the head of the C40 cities, the global mayors. Before him, it was the mayor of Columbia, South Carolina. Can't remember his name. Treason. Now, came across this, obviously, when Bill Gates admits it's not a conspiracy theory, right?
Making the mRNA is really easy and really cheap, and that's the magic of this thing. But there's no doubt in the next 5 years, we can, we just need to mess around. There's a lot of lipid nanoparticles, and some are very self-assembly. And some are very self-assembly.
This is nano construction. I don't even begin to understand how far ahead of where we thought our technology was.
Making the mRNA is really...
And it's not just those who got that product, but it's pretty much everybody. We're breathing in these nanobots, and what else are they putting the mRNA in? We know that there was discussion about putting them in foods, right? Okay. Self-assembling nanotechnology within us that can be activated remotely, change behavior, change DNA, change your physicality, for sure, change your emotions, mentality, your opinions, your views. make you into a zombie. Okay. World Health Organization, this treaty is on its way.
Well, thank you for being here today for our press conference on what I describe as the most important issue that's getting the least amount of attention relative to its importance in our country. And like many other issues, we're going to be deciding on November 5 what kind of a country we're going to be, and it applies to this issue as well. President Trump had withdrawn the U.S. from the WHO, and of course the Biden administration, like every other disastrous decision they made, reversed those policies when the Biden-Harris administration got in charge. Well, later this week, the UN is going to hold a, quote, summit for the future, and they're going to produce, this is right from their website, an intergovernmentally negotiated, action-oriented pact for the future with a chapter on transforming global governance. Ascending beyond the powers being sought by its subordinate agency, the WHO, the UN is seeking even broader and more powerful authority, as you will hear a lot about today. The Biden-Harris administration apparently intends to fully support the surrender and compliance of the U.S. to the UN in these endeavors. They are aligned with the international globalists that hate America, that hate the Constitution, that hate our founders, that hate our founding Judeo-Christian principles, and they want America to become like the rest of the world. They don't want us to be subordinate to or governed by our Constitution. No, they want America to be subordinate to and governed by the UN, the World Health Assembly, and the WHO.
Now, I'm going to post the link. It's 25 minutes. Yeah, you should listen. I keep forgetting to enter my links. That's on China. And listen, circulate. This is happening. And for anybody who does not know what the World Health Organization is up to with their pandemic treaty, I will play Jimmy Dore's video. He just came out. This was posted on the 15th. The WHO treaty should scare the hell out of you. Okay, well, just bring it on. You're not going to get much resistance. Bring it on.
Be in Burbank, California. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. Speaking of Bill Gates is the #1 funder of the WHO. He does it through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and Gavi, which is
and Trump funded Gavi, giving Gavi billions of dollars. It doesn't matter what he says. Oh, we're out of the World Health Organization. No, we weren't. Funding Gavi is funding the World Health Organization.
There's another NGO that he started that pushes vaccines. And so the former head of the WHO admitted that we run on donations and we have to do what the people who donate to us say. So that's why Bill Gates is the #1 donor. And so he can tell the WHO what to do. So it's an unelected body that is now going to dictate to everybody over the next pandemic that will probably be manufactured like the last one was.
So what was the update on the treaty?
So here it is. So
you knew it. I don't know it.
So just to let people know what the WHO treaty is, Dr. David Martin is here, and he's going to tell you in 2 minutes what it is about.
You give an outline to the viewers who might not be aware of it. What this WHO international treaty that's currently being ironed out over at the UN, what is it all about?
Well, the key points are that with the support of the financial institutions of the Rockefeller Foundation, the Wellcome Trust, and the Gates Foundation, we're essentially ceding the ability to suspend all civil liberties and all of the rights associated with what we would call the Bill of Rights here in the United States, International Declaration of Human Rights. All of those can be suspended by a capricious determination that there's a public health emergency. And the minute that happens, there are no rights. In a nutshell, that's what the treaty is. And like the PrEP Act was after the anthrax outbreak of 2001, which the U.S. perpetrated on the U.S. so that we could get to the PrEP Act of 2005, the exact same playbook is how we got COVID to get us to this moment, which is to say, terrorize the world, convince them that we need some giant protector state that actually has some sort of supranational ability, and then suspend civil liberties as long as they need to be suspended. And in this particular case, at the whim of funding agencies who have no criminal accountability. So in a nutshell, if you feel good about that, feel good about May. What it does is it allows a board at the World Health Organization to either declare an actual emergency or declare an anticipated emergency. There doesn't have to be any evidence. There is no evidence standard at all. So this is actually worse than what happened in COVID, because they don't even have a standard that says they have to isolate a pathogen. They don't have to isolate anything. What they have to do is simply say, we think that there is a reason to declare an emergency. And as such, we therefore have the ability to suspend travel, to actually penalize member states. There's a very big clause inside of the treaty that actually has penalties on member states for noncompliance. But we have to go back to the formation of the World Health Organization. And a lot of people don't want to go back to 1944 to 1946 when the WHO was set up. Very few people know that they wrote absolute immunity from all criminal prosecution into their charter. The only organization self-appointed with no external authority ever granted to have the ability to write themselves out of all forms of criminal prosecution in perpetuity. That's right in the charter of the World Health Organization. And that right, which was actually negotiated by the Wellcome Trust and the Rockefeller Foundation, they are the ones that paid for it. They're the ones that put Renee Sand up as the first director. They're the ones that actually put all of these pieces in place. Give them the ability to act with impunity on citizens, regardless of your compliance or absence of compliance with any of the nation-state decisions around the World Health Organization. Every American citizen traveling abroad has no rights. They can be subject to any crime for which there can be no criminal prosecution. So if you feel good about that, yeah, there's probably a way we can actually soft pedal this thing. But the problem is, like we had with anthrax to get to the PrEP Act, like we've had with COVID to get to the World Health Organization treaty, these things are set up to be terror campaigns to modify the public's willingness to give up their liberties.
All right, so did I put the link in? I can't remember, so the link is in again. But all of this is coming our way. Okay, so what else do I have for you? Not even sure which way where should we go? What should we do? Let's just do this. All right, I'm going to try and do this quickly because I do want to get to all of the fabulous warring that is going on in Russia, Ukraine, in Israel, in Lebanon, in Palestine, and yeah, everything is about killing, 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 and I can't stand it. All right, so bloodbath in Georgia. Omar Garcia, who is in our country illegally, was driving 80 miles per hour in a 35 zone. While intoxicated, he crashed his car, killing Kadreen Harris, 23 years old, Malik Henderson, 23 years old, and injured a 1-year-old child. Okay. Not Haiti, but Honduras. Don't know if you know about this. I will post the link to Off Grid with Doug and Stacy. Not going to play the whole video, but it's well worth a watch. It's very upsetting, so brace yourself.
Now on Just One station, horses missing after a barn break-in. That search ending hours later and not far from their home. 2 animals found butchered about a mile away.
And tonight, their owners, as you can imagine, are looking for answers. The Night Team's Alex Browning has this exclusive.
For somebody to have the stomach to do something like this is heartless.
A heartless horse heist in southwest Miami-Dade over the weekend.
This is the same thing as going into somebody's yard, taking their dog, and cooking it.
Turning deadly. 2 horses swiped from southwest Miami-Dade turned up dead. Their corpses found Sunday morning off Southwest 205th Avenue.
Noticed that the fence was cut, and at that point we realized that they were taken.
Owner David says it started sometime overnight Saturday. His 2 horses, Sammy and War on the home front, stolen from their stalls off Southwest 207th Avenue.
There are children, and they were abducted and killed for meat.
Their corpses later found a few blocks away.
Both horses were slaughtered sometime over the weekend. We need to come together, help out the detectives in this investigation. Let's give some closure to the family, and of course, put behind bars these individuals that would do such a heinous crime.
A mystery leaving a family heartbroken and now searching for answers.
You know, our children are heartbroken. My wife's heartbroken, and you know, we're just trying to get through this.
And now detectives working to identify that mastermind behind this heist. If you have any information, call Miami-Dade Police.
Okay. He has quite a bit more. Oh, he did capture the I don't give a shit hot mic moment in Alabama. Okay. Wow. It's really remarkable.
But she doesn't care about city business.
Now, this is a small town in Alabama. This was a public meeting, listening to the residents, talking about all of the Haitians that are brought to a small town in Alabama, how it's affecting the residents and businesses. And this woman, hot mic, she actually says, I really don't give a shit about the businesses.
Care about city business.
When audience comments were over last meeting, most of us left. We had the agenda. We knew the topics. And we know the votes you're going to cast. It's all going to be yes as usual. During the break, Crystal forgot to turn her mic off and announced to the entire city that we don't give a shit. Really don't give a shit about the business of the city. With that statement, Crystal single-handedly proved that this is how the citizens of this city are talked about between yourselves. This is where our concerns and fears get us in your eyes. Thanks, Crystal. Thanks for that. So I'm going to ask you, before I'm done with this joke, who the hell don't give a shit again?
I beg your pardon. Thank you. Taxation without representation. Now,
Did I put the link in? I'll put it in again. Now, I will, because it's the right thing to do, just to say that what she said, it may have been taken out of context. We don't know what the context was. And, well, she'll have to explain that. But considering what the meeting was all about, you know, to say that then, I don't know. Look at what's, yeah, okay. All right. 2 women helping the cats, doing the TNR, the trap, neuter, release, feeding them, get arrested.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. All right. What question? What are you doing?
Trying to trap some cats.
Okay. All right. We got a call that somebody was out here feeding the cats. and stuff like that. So
I'm trying to trap them.
okay.
Y'all have 3 cop cars because I'm feeding cats.
No, we always
Wow.
do this. It's
That's
fine.
unbelievable.
You're formally trespassed from this area right here. So if you come back and we catch you out here, you go to jail for criminal trespass third.
This is public property.
It's city
Public
property. This is
and
city
there's
property.
no, it's public,
Yes, ma'am.
which makes it public property.
Yeah, and the city does not want anybody feeding the animals around here because they're becoming a nuisance.
I'm trying to help that nuisance by catching them. I mean,
Okay.
they should be thanking me. I've got a trap set right there trying to help catch them and get them out of here.
Okay. All right.
It makes no sense. Because if you don't trap and spay or neuter them, then cats can, I didn't know this until I was in South Carolina, but one cat can have like 5-6 litters a year. It's amazing. And those litters, they can, wow, be very big. So they've become a nuisance because there's too many, apparently. And what she's doing is making sure that they stop reproducing. Okay. Yeah.
Control officer that's certified for that.
I know that, and Terrence knows that I try to help him catch them.
Okay. We're telling you no. Don't be around here trapping them anymore, okay? All right, you have a good one. Well, man, we told you to leave this area. Well,
1428 returns to Beverly
you leave
Robert.
now. We're teetering on going to jail.
Create a Camry gray in color. Current 29 negative.
Teetering on going to jail for feeding cats.
Well, for trespassing, we told you to leave and you haven't left. I could take you to jail now. I'm not trying to do that. Apparently, they've had an issue with you out here before with the cats.
Not here.
Feeding the cats out here, right?
Well, I feed them. We've been trying to trap them and we get them neutered and then get them homes.
Okay.
So we're trying to do the city a favor.
Okay. Well, the city has asked you multiple times.
The city?
Yes, ma'am. Not to do this.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And they have trespassed you. Okay. And now you're trespassing.
I'm
Okay.
sitting in my car. I'm not.
Well,
I
well,
haven't
you're on the
touched-
ma'am, you're on the property. You've got cat food. Okay. It's pretty. I mean, all in the back seat. It's pretty clear what your intent is. Okay.
Uh-huh.
All right. So, because you've been trespassed and you have returned yet again, we're gonna have to take you to jail. Okay.
Jesus Christ.
No.
No.
You can go too.
I'm just,
No.
so I'm not allowed to talk.
No, that doesn't involve you. You've been told at
Uh,
least 25 minutes ago that you're trespassing here.
I will call a lawyer. All right.
Yes, ma'am. That's fine. You can call a lawyer as soon as you get to the jail. Okay.
Go ahead
and get in your car. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead and get in your car. All right, Miss Roberts. I'm gonna have to get you to step out. Okay.
I don't like our country. What is happening in New York? It goes on. We have a real problem. And I do wonder, when you see this kind of behavior, did they get that product? Axe attack at Boston Public Library. Yeah.
On NBC 10 Boston, an axe fight inside the Boston Public Library. An axe fight. Police say 2 men pulled weapons and started to brawl. Our Kirsten Glavin explains what happened.
Libraries are generally quiet spaces, but
Not this Monday.
When he was already like having the axe in his hand, waving it around, and he was screaming at the other guy, "Do you want to die? Do you want to die?"
Noctis Farrell was working at a cafe inside the Boston Public Library when he says he saw an axe attack.
He did swing at the other guy with the axe a couple times, but he missed every time. And in my head, I'm like, oh, okay, that's fun. I'm going to go get my manager.
According to police, one man.
You see, our country is not right. Naked person with breasts and penis spotted walking nonchalantly. What is this naked stuff that's going on? Yeah. Oh my God. It's just, oh, I don't know. Oh, I didn't even know about this group, Jane's Addiction. They had a fist fight on stage, and now they've canceled their tour. Why? What's going on with people that they can't seem to control themselves? This doesn't seem to be moving along. And if you know this,
At this point, police are still.
Just a horrific bit of breaking news to tell you about right there, and gun insanity. Wow, a big case of it in St. Albans, Queens. The driver of that car was shot in the head as he was driving. Or she, we don't know yet. Shannon Sohn live in Newscopter 7. Shannon?
Yeah, details are just coming in, and we have just learned that it was a male driver that was shot in the head. Let's paint this picture for you, because you can obviously see how this ended with the car crashing into the side of what we can only be thankful for is an empty storefront. However, this is at the intersection of Farmers Boulevard and 117th Road. And what we understand is that that driver, shortly before 5 o'clock, was driving along, shot in the head, then lost control of the vehicle. And here's where it gets even worse. Plowed down a pedestrian, a female. Both of them are now in critical condition. That female pedestrian that he struck after being shot in the head is in critical but stable condition. At this point, police are still investigating, and we're just going to bring you here along 117th Road.
it just seems that, people are being picked off, just you have these interstate shootings, you driving along, you get shot in the head, you hit a pedestrian. This is getting pretty intense. Professor sends his What If January 6th comic book to all Pennsylvania high schools. Boy, they really push it, don't they? They never stop. He hopes students will see January 6th as not unlike 9/11. Push the lies. That's what we're good for here. Okay. This is far worse.
Parents, this video is for you. It is imperative that we pay attention to what is going on in our schools. I got a permission slip recently from my daughter's school, and we live in a fairly conservative area next to Akron, Ohio. The permission slip was for her to attend health class. Mind you, she is in 5th grade. It had the syllabus on there and a link to show you what material she will be learning. I did some research, and you will be astounded, oh my gosh, blown away by what they are trying to teach my 5th grader. Watch this video. It is absolutely disgusting.
Yes, yes, come on, yes, oh yes. Aha! What are you doing there? You've had an apple one day. You'll go blind. I'm coming! How many times is too many to in one day? Hashtag Ask Amaze! There's no limit on the number of times a person can math each day. I have another question. Sometimes my stands up in the air, and it feels good when I touch it.
When your stands up, it's called an erection. Girls also have a private part that they may want to touch because it feels nice. It's okay.
Mind you, I'm reminding you, the video is for 5th graders. And we on the right are saying that the left is trying to over-sexualize our children. This is exactly what we're talking about. And they want to gaslight us and pretend that it's not happening. In what world does a 5th grader need to learn how to masturbate? Now, this is just the beginning. They start in 5th grade and they work their way up. Here are just some of the videos that are on this Amaze website. I encourage you to go check them out yourself. This is not the only website that they will use to teach our children as well. The sad part is, in order to get federal funding, they have to do these programs.
When you're born, your sex is assigned in a medical way, but the sex listed on your birth certificate may not necessarily match your gender identity.
Gender identity is a person's inner experience of who they are in terms of gender, their deep personal sense of being male, female, a blend of both, or neither.
And while many people have a gender identity that's the same as their assigned birth sex of female or male, that's not always the case, because gender exists on a spectrum. Like transgender, which means a person whose gender identity is not consistent with their assigned birth sex. Non-binary, which means a person whose identity doesn't fall in the category of either male or female. And genderqueer or gender fluid, which means a person who does not identify themselves as having a specific gender at all.
Does gender identity have to do with being straight or gay?
Actually, no. Gender identity has to do with the way you feel about yourself, while sexual orientation is based on the way you feel toward others. The people.
Okay. The link is in the chat, and it goes on. So when we see that an awful lot of people are now focused on other agendas or focused on, yes, of course, the election, this is still going on, okay? This is still going on. It is so outrageous, but it shows how truly evil this country is and how truly sick Americans are. Sorry, this would not be happening if Americans were right. They ain't right. They ain't right. Living in South Carolina, I heard that about me so many times. You ain't right. So, we're rather a morally vapid people who like to bullshit our way through life. And this is what happens. This is such abuse. And for any adult that can't see that that's abuse, they're sick up here. And street takeovers in Maine, quiet little Maine, oh, it's all over the country. Rural areas, Kennebunkport, which is a very affluent area, street takeover, Okay. I was pretty amazed by this, but yeah. When kids grow up staring at a phone and community has been pretty much, it's an obsolete thing. Friendship means almost nothing. They need a lot of stimulus. And so they all get together and party hardy by taking over streets. And I can see it in LA, I can see it in New York City, but Maine?
New view of so-called street takeovers.
Yeah, as we've been reporting so far, these are late night meetups at intersections where big crowds come to watch as drivers are doing donuts, they're setting off fireworks and doing a lot more, all of it dangerous. We've confirmed a group hit at least 5 communities around York County late Saturday night and then into Sunday morning.
CBS 13's Mel Meyer is at the live desk with an update. Mal.
Well, the Kennebunkport police chief has told me that this has never happened in the town before. And now we've obtained new dash camera footage of what one officer was up against. You can see here an officer was driving toward the Route 9 and Goose Rocks Road intersection. Authorities were called for a report of a bunch of vehicles making a whole lot of noise. Now, this was around 12:30 on Sunday morning, and as she got closer, police cruiser lights and sirens were turned on as the officer reported seeing about 100 people. You can hear her shout at one point, "Clear out now." That officer said that she was being filmed and that they were starting to surround her cruiser, to which someone over the radio said for her to get out of there. Now, you can see that she tried before being reported being boxed in. After throwing on her sirens, more people then eventually come up as she calls for backup. Quickly, a wall of people approach her vehicle, some with masks on, others not. They hurled insults and made lewd gestures, but there was nowhere for this officer to go.
Sir, I'm also blocked in by citizens. I've got regular citizens in cars behind me. I can't move.
Now, shortly after that, the crowd did back off as the officer tried to quickly rattle off license plates. But as you can see, people started going off in all different directions. Now, the officer also told somebody over the radio that they could slow down, that the intersection was pretty clear now. Quote, "There's nothing we can do with this many cars." The York County Sheriff also wants to talk with a group known by law enforcement to organize these takeovers. He has a
To organize the takeovers? Yeah, the Maine kids are a little scared children. So they try to be big and tough. Yeah, I'm going to block this cop in. Yeah. Oh, wait, she's getting our license plates. Let's get out of here. Unbelievable. Wow. Mystery. It's a mystery. It's under investigation. Vermont politician, his wife, and his wife's 13-year-old son, all found murdered in a cozy cottage. Okay. Paulette. He was a select board member. Brian Crossman. His wife, Erica, son, Colin, shot dead on Sunday. The police received a 911 call early on Sunday by someone they identified as a person of interest. Why? Well, because the police showed up and that guy that called 911 was covered in blood. A relative of the family. He was covered in blood. But we don't get to know any more information but that he apparently, Brian had just inherited his mother or family's farm house. And Crossman and his wife recently took control of the farm from Crossman's sister. Now, you can make anything you want out of that, but I will say that there's an awful lot of people who are, wow, they get crazy around inheritance and don't care. They can destroy relationships with one another, and even kill. But I don't know. Whoever that person was, covered in blood, we don't know. They won't release any of that information. But quiet little Vermont, nothing is quiet anymore. Look at this, Utah, right? Okay, Sun River residents concerned after images of neatly lined up animal carcasses circulate. What? Okay, we can speculate all day long. I just don't know what the hell is wrong with a whole lot of people in this country.
River community in St. George are concerned after photos of neatly displayed dead animals began circulating on social media yesterday.
Now, some viewers may find these images in the story disturbing. In a 2 News exclusive, Liv Kelleher in St. George is talking with wildlife officials and residents about the circumstances surrounding these pictures and figuring out what happened to all these animals.
I'm here near the Sun River Golf Course where those animal carcasses were found yesterday morning. The animals were lined up right in this area over here, and as you can see, they're no longer there. The golf course told me that they did bury them, but residents I spoke to said it was somewhat disturbing to see the animals so neatly lined up just out in the open.
There was 20.
Yeah, I'd say it's disturbing.
6 rabbits and 4 skunks and 1 raccoon.
Robert Painter lives in the Sun River community. He took this image yesterday.
What is going on? Yeah, it almost looks like practice for some psychopath in Utah. It's none of anybody's business. RV owners fight back against town in Wiscasset. This, not entirely sure where this is. All right, but we're going to skip ahead. So many ways in which Americans are just really being screwed. But yeah, I'm going to play this. This is 6 minutes. Listen, this is who we are. It truly is. And a whole lot of people don't want to face how unbelievably evil we have been, yes, as a people. And you can't get anywhere good by ignoring what you really are. We've been just a spreading the evil all over the world forever. And yeah, a lot of people, are just sick in the mind. But here, the West is a dystopian wasteland of moral degeneracy. You can't argue with that.
The West is a dystopian wasteland of moral degeneracy. Usually, when you hear a white person talk about moral degeneracy, it's some wingnut denouncing LGBTQ rights or women's reproductive rights or whatever. But that's not what I mean. I'm talking about real things here. The real moral decay of our society is illustrated in the way all mainstream political candidates can openly support war crimes currently being inflicted on people in the global South without being immediately removed from power. The way monstrous war criminals of past administrations can endorse a liberal candidate without causing self-proclaimed progressives to recoil from that candidate in horror. The way you can have the two viable candidates for the world's most powerful elected position both pledge to continue an active genocide without instantly sparking a revolution. The moral degeneracy of this civilization looks like living lives of relative comfort built on the backs of workers in the global south whose labor and resources are extracted from their nations at profoundly exploitative rates, while raining military explosives on impoverished populations who dare to disobey the dictates of our government, day after day, year after year, decade after decade, acting like this is all fine and normal. Being born into a Western civilization is like waking up in the middle of a massive lynch mob. Something terrible is happening, and everyone's going along with it and telling you it's fine and it's normal. And even if you're able to figure out that what they're doing is wrong in all the chaos and confusion, you find yourself powerless to stop them because the whole thing has so much momentum already, and there are far too many people blindly caught up in the frenzy of bloodlust for you to make everyone change course. Just continuing to live among them makes you complicit in their actions in many ways, but you have nowhere else to go besides this lynch mob town you were born into. So you just move to the fringes of the mob and share your objections with the few people who will listen to you. Our civilization is cruel and savage, but we compartmentalize away from its cruelty and savagery and laugh at our sitcoms and vapid comedians and make believe the worst things happening politically in our society are the mainstream culture war wedge issues that pundits and politicians prefer to keep us talking about. We live out our lives sedated by entertainment and social media and food and pharmaceuticals, while genocide, nuclear brinkmanship, and ecocide unfold all around us, thinking ourselves good and virtuous if we are kind to our pets and hold the correct opinions about racial justice and vaccines. If we as a society were actually good, none of this would be happening. Moral clarity would find all this intolerable and would reject it and eject it by any means necessary, which is why the powerful pour so much energy into keeping us all sedated and confused. A lot of power and wealth rides on our lack of moral clarity. There is much wealth to be gained by exploiting labor and extracting resources around the world. There is much power to be secured by murdering, starving, and terrorizing any population which refuses to bow to the interests of the Western Empire. This is why the Western Empire has the most sophisticated propaganda machine ever devised, because so much wealth and power depends on ensuring the West remains in a state of moral degeneracy, and that Westerners do not regard the citizenry of the global South as fully human. I personally reject religion, not because I am some fedora-wearing wanker who makes fun of people for believing in God, but because I reject all aspects of the profoundly sick culture I was born into. Because I don't resonate with religion, I often feel myself pulling away from religious-sounding jargon framing the actions of the Western Empire as demonic, or calling the U.S. the Great Satan. But at the same time, I completely understand it. When I see the inside of a child's skull for the 100th time, next to video footage of IDF soldiers mockingly dressed in the clothes of dead or displaced Palestinian women, and playing with the toys of dead or displaced children, while Western podium pontiffs pretend to believe the military they're arming has done nothing wrong, I do struggle to find adjectives strong enough to describe what I am looking at. Maybe demonic is as close as you can get, even if you don't believe in actual biblical demons. That's what I'm talking about when I say the West is a wasteland of moral degeneracy. The type of civilization which would allow its government to do things like this necessarily has a collective conscience that is being so warped and twisted by propaganda and self-interest that it's the same as not having a conscience at all. If you can't regard the vast majority of the population of this planet as fully human and equal to yourself, then morally speaking, you are no better than the perpetrators of slavery and genocide we've been taught to judge negatively in history class. And that's the norm here. It's what we were born into. It's what we spend all our lives being trained to accept as normal.
There's nothing normal. Nothing. And if you're honest and you take a look back at how we've been living, you'll see it hasn't been normal. There's nothing normal. I mean, we were the baby boomers born into, Vietnam. Nothing has been normal. So when you're born into, you get so indoctrinated and inculcated in the ways of the community, the neighborhood, the culture, and hardly anybody stops to think, how are we living? Are we living rightly? No. No. And the only way, that we can correct course is if the individual does work on themselves to correct themselves. And of course, we need it in the aggregate. And the likelihood of that happening is zero. There is none. It's not going to happen. Because we are so sick. We can't even look at ourselves. And for a lot of people, it would be horror to face themselves in the mirror, to really be honest about how they've operated in the world, how they've lived life. But boy, wasn't it good for decades to think Americans were just swell? So great, morally acceptable, right? All of that stuff. And I do believe that Caitlin is quite right about this. The real election meddling this time will happen right out in the open. And still, you'll get the right angry at the left. They'll play it like they're playing a fiddle. They'll play all of these people like they're playing a fiddle, happily manipulating the right and the left to just really hate one another. And it's going to be obvious. The election will be stolen. Certainly if Kamala wins, is selected, she doesn't win, selected. But a whole lot is now so in our face. And both Trump and Kamala are just trash. And can't we see that? No, because we are trash. So the acceptance of stupid people who, Trump is like he's a bully street kid, and Kamala is, there was a video of her, and I don't know if it's a recent one, but everybody should be woke. Everybody get more woke, get more woke. And I'm like, okay. So we saw her performance as a vice president, and she really didn't do anything. Very poor public speaker. Who could possibly think that she could be the commander-in-chief? Who? Tell me. Now, we know that they're not, right? We know that they're puppets, but a whole lot of Americans don't, right? So they actually think that these people are going to be the rulers. It's because we've become so sick in mind, in heart, that this is what we now just accept. Yeah, I just hear.
The real election meddling will happen right out in the open. The real election meddling will happen right out in the open. The election in November will be rigged. This election rigging will not be done by Russia, or by China, or by Iran, or by far-right coup plotters, or by some shadowy cabal tampering with voting machines. It will happen right out in the open, and it will be perfectly legal.
Because our government claims it's legal, so it's legal. We the people? Hello? All right, so. Yeah. And this is also, it's like, for whatever it is that you think of Kennedy, right? John. The behaviors of the adults at that time it was a whole other world. They had integrity, and there was a dignity to them. We really have trash now. But that is also purposeful. It's what they think of the American people. And it's such a reflection of the American people. We really have become a country that is just, that there is no words for it. A trashy joke. But it's not just in the federal, the federal level. Listen to this. This is an Oregon State Rep, Jules Waters, during a Zoom meeting. I just, okay.
I'm so embarrassed. How shameful. You people are just shameful.
Jules, I don't appreciate.
No, don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. You don't know what you're talking about.
It's really hard,
Talk to me. Stop it. That's bullshit.
Okay, your emotion that you do at our meetings make it so difficult, Jules.
Fuck off.
Yeah, and you've told me that more than once also. So if you want to talk about hate speech and
half the fucking city,
you might want to just kind of take a look in the mirror.
Shut up.
There you go again.
You're horrible. The three of you that decided that this man gets the privilege to participate, you should be ashamed of yourselves. Ashamed.
Thank you for your opinion. You expressed it.
You know what? Fuck off. You too, Rich. Fuck off.
You're very unprofessional. You shouldn't be a counselor with that attitude. I'm sorry. It's very demeaning to everybody else and disrespectful, even because we disagree with you. So
Talk about our rules of civility.
yes, Mayor.
We need to have a group process.
What the hell? How are these people maintaining their positions? That's what I don't understand, right? And yeah. So Trump has a rally, Nassau County, Long Island, New York. And there was explosives found in a car. Okay. I don't know, but I think that they have a script that they manifest that script, in action. I don't, or they do have the remote control of a whole lot of people. And do I still have people here? Wow. I lost internet connection. I lost the connection. So, yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, we have accepted all of the lies, never held anybody accountable. And now look at what we have. And people are actually still rooting for one or the other. We've got even local people who are just, can we bring back a little bit of dignity and then maybe integrity? How about it? And all of this stuff is so, look, I just can't get into it anymore. It's just, it's like a joke, you know? And redacted, you know, this was a couple of days ago. We are living in the dystopic, war-torn Hunger Games, and most of it is about, you know, the election and the wars. But the Hunger Games, you know, extend to virtually every aspect of our life now. The kids in school are living the Hunger Games. You know, residents dealing with all of the illegal migrants, we're living the Hunger Games. Economy, whoa, are we living the Hunger Games? But how we're treating one another is also kind of like gearing up for the Hunger Games. Sorry, I lost connection and I forgot. I have to do this over again. Okay. And there you go. Sorry. I'm only going to play, you know, like a minute more. I'll put the link in if you want to listen. It was actually good commentary. But boy, you know, Americans really can put up with a lot, clearly.
Go to my regular life. This week I couldn't. The debate really got to me. It could be that this was totally engineered to give Democrats power. It feels like that. My concern is more about the war rhetoric than the actual bias, although that's a concern too. Just hours ago, an ABC whistleblower said they will allegedly release an affidavit claiming that the Harris campaign was given sample questions, as well as assurances that Trump would be fact-checked and that she would not. Now, I'm not that upset about one candidate over another because again, what I'm concerned about is the war rhetoric that is being pushed around one party and not another. It felt to me like we literally are living in the Hunger Games, and the media is controlled by those who will send your children to their deaths. And as a mother, I want to make this case to you so that we don't miss it. Now, if you haven't read The Hunger Games, please read it. Every day as a journalist, we see terrifying parallels between this fictional novel and the authoritarianism at play in our world that does not have any value for life or death. In the Hunger Games, Suzanne Collins paints this world where citizens work for the government. They own nothing. They have no rights. There are constant shortages of food, clothing, shelter. There's constant suffering, except in the Capitol. Who is the Capitol in this? The media, the globalists. In the Capitol, they live with abundance. They are aligned with the globalist agenda, and they risk no death. Their children are not sent to their deaths. Their children do not work. They are never at a threat. The capitalist, or the Capitol rather, makes sure that citizens never rise up against them by hosting the Hunger Games every year, where children are picked to play in a lottery to have to fight for their death. Now, the main news anchor in the Hunger Games is Caesar Flickerman, and tell me you did not see this parallel. He is a mouthpiece of government control. He will never go into the Hunger Games, and he will never have a child die or a family member, so he can broadcast in this way. This is what I saw so clearly when these two anchors that hosted the debate, specifically when they asked President Trump, do you want Ukraine to win the war? That is a fundamentally ignorant question about the state of the war, and only someone who risks neither their own life nor the life of someone that they love could ask it. And
This is what we've been doing my entire life, 65 years. Only more so, more intensely. Spreading out into the world, bombing countries, stealing their resources, destroying their country for profit. And if you vote for Harris or Trump, you should at least have the decency to feel gross about it. I'll post the link. Yeah, either one. You know, that neither one has a moral core. And I'm still seeing people, you know, leave that comment, whether it's Twitter or YouTube or whatever. I'm voting for the lesser of two evils. Okay. We all did it. I did it. But eventually you have to begin to think about what you're doing and how you're living, the choices you make, all of those really just bizarre, idiotic, stupid things that we say, never even thinking about it because everybody says it. Voting for the lesser of two evil gets you evil. And we've got evil. So it doesn't matter who gets in. We will still have evil. And it doesn't matter red or blue president. What we will have is the same foreign policy for sure, but the same steps moving us along. You know, they doing the globalist bidding. And yeah, it's so farcical. But yeah, I was kind of happy to hear somebody else say that these hearings are just theater. And it was Thomas Massey, who I do respect. Of all of the Congress people, I think he is probably the one who has a headache every single day and probably feels disgusted with his colleagues. But I don't see him, I don't have any evidence that he's a player. So let's see what he has to say. I'm only going to play a few minutes, but don't you wish every American would hear this? It is political theater, all congressional hearings. But once again, it's the same, you know, the resolution, the CR, is it congressional resolution for the budget? It's the same exact thing that happens every friggin' year. Same thing.
It's now in order to consider amendment number 3, printed in Part B of House Report 118-656. For what purpose does the gentleman from Kentucky seek recognition?
Mr. Chair, I have an amendment at the desk.
Clerk will designate the amendment.
Amendment number 3, printed in Part B of House Report number 118-656, offered by Mr. Massey of Kentucky.
Pursuant to House Resolution 1430, the gentleman from Kentucky, Mr. Massey, and a member opposed, each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Kentucky.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise in support of my amendment, which simply recognizes that the United States Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Our Constitution establishes a very clear framework for making treaties by the executive and with the advice and consent of the Senate. But our Constitution also establishes a clear framework for making laws that affect our domestic affairs. If any provisions of a treaty are to have legal bearing on United States citizens, those provisions must pass both the United States House of Representatives and the Senate and be presented to the President, as all federal laws must. Treaties don't override our constitutional process for making law. President can't make U.S. law by agreeing to new terms in an international treaty. Every law that American citizens live under must pass the House and the Senate.
And none of that, what he's talking about right now, actually happens. For decades, all presidents have been violating the Constitution, congressional reps violating the Constitution, but Americans don't care if they actually know. The treaties, right? You cannot, like the World Health Organization or the Paris Accord, and we have mayors and governors in our country right now who are implementing the Paris Accord, but oh, everybody was so happy Trump got us out of the Paris Accord. No, he didn't. He just spoke those words. But he didn't say to the mayors and the governors, you don't get to implement an international treaty when it hasn't gone for ratification at the Senate. You don't get to do that. Did he say that? No. So the Paris Accord has already been in the works and still is in the works.
My colleagues have eloquently made the point that a president can't enter into a treaty without advice and consent of the Senate. And in doing so, they are standing up for the sovereignty of American citizens. But they are requiring the Senate to be that portion of the legislative branch that decides what laws will bear on citizens, depending on what the treaty is. My amendment here is very simple. It says that if a treaty has a law in it that has the bearing on United States citizens, on our domestic activities, then it has to follow the lawmaking process of the Constitution.
Okay, I apologize. This is not the video that I was talking about with Massey, who is talking about how these hearings are just political theater. And if I come across that, I will definitely bring it to your attention. But they are. Yeah, and here, Jamie Dimon says an evil access of countries are his top concern for the next 100 years. Jamie Dimon, who is the CEO of Chase, or JP Morgan, I'm sorry. So he's concerned about the United States, the UK, and Israel. Right? Because that's the evil axis. All right, so Putin comes out just a couple of days ago, states publicly that, well, Ukraine is doing the bidding of NATO. NATO is pretty much the United States. And don't fly those missiles into Russia. And that's exactly what took place today in a big way, hitting a depot, a missile and ammunition depot in Russia. But apparently this mushroom cloud and this blow, apparently it was like 5 miles. It was huge.
Видели эту волну? Просто жесть. А как светло было, вообще круто. Так, ну я думаю, что пора, парни.
The scale of it was huge, obviously, and playing with fire. Now, I don't believe that Putin, Russia, China, they're all involved in the New World Order. Who knows? Maybe they're vying for, the most power in this New World Order. Okay. But when Putin comes out and says, don't do it, and then we do it, do you see how we instigate this? Putting us closer to that official declaration of World War III. We are nuts, okay? We are flippin' crazy and have been. This army sends 130 troops and a missile system to remote Alaskan island for Russia threat. Uninhabited remote island in the Aleutian chain of Western Alaska, following a series of Russian and Chinese military assets being spotted off the coast, including warplanes. So all of this, wow. Okay. Russia has flown very close, so has China, to our coast, no problem. We've had their subs in the Gulf of Mexico, off the East Coast, no problem. So all of this is just to, it's the propaganda getting Americans ready for a full-out war with Russia and China. You think we're going to win? But we're not supposed to, because we are purposefully being brought down. Dozens dead, thousands injured, Hezbollah, the pagers. Okay, what was interesting, I thought, was the pagers were just recently changed. It was the American University in Lebanon, and they literally got rid of all of the old pagers, brought in the new pagers like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. And voila, the pagers explode. This technology, there is a reason why we have been saying this technology is a weapon of war. Cell phones. There's also claims that iPhones, solar energy plants, handheld radios also exploded. So the pagers were first. Then today it was the handheld radios and walkie-talkies. And a whole lot of people are saying that it wasn't just that, but solar, iPhone. Apparently, iPhones were exploding in an iPhone store in Lebanon. Hezbollah vows to punish Israel after pager explosions across Lebanon. Militant group Hezbollah promised to retaliate against Israel after accusing it of detonating pagers across Lebanon on Tuesday, killing 9 people, wounding 3,000. The detonation of pagers, handheld devices that Hezbollah and others in Lebanon used to send messages. So here was one of the explosions. In a Beirut supermarket. So now the handheld radios, 14 people killed today, 450 injured, bringing the death toll the death toll on Tuesday rose to 12, including 2 children. Now reports are coming in that several home solar energy systems have exploded in Beirut. Cars randomly exploding. I'll post the link. I can't, this video won't play on Twitter for me. But iPhones exploding in shops. All Western technology is embedded with explosives. U.S. State Department says the U.S. was not involved in the pager explosions in Lebanon. Oh, good. Now I feel more comfortable. How could we believe anything out of this guy's mouth, out of any of them? American University of Beirut Medical Center replaced the pagers of their doctors and staff 2 weeks ago. Hard to read this, but as we upgrade our paging system to a new updated version with better coverage, we are officially decommissioning the old paging system. The go live date is August 29. So, all right, so that's the medical centers. But there were a lot of explosions that they were not Hezbollah militants. Hezbollah begins first cross-border attacks since pager blasts, and EU condemns indiscriminate Israeli operation. Wow. Oh my God. Yeah, so Hezbollah announced that it has begun its first cross-border attacks on Israeli military border posts since the pager explosions. This could be the beginning of major retaliatory operations which slide into a third Lebanese war. Wow. Do we ever, ever, ever even consider a peace? Is that even? No, it's all about war. It's all about killing. Israel's war cabinet greenlights offensive war against Hezbollah. Sends elite brigade north. It appears war is here. Okay. Spreading. It's not good for anybody. But when we talk Israel, also talk U.S. because we're in cahoots. Israeli army reveals its own airstrike likely killed 3 Gaza captives. What a surprise. No, it's not a surprise. So the last release of the hostages, Israel first came out and said it was Hamas that killed the hostages that were killed. No. Even the army comes out and says, no, we were responsible for 3 deaths. Germany has stopped approving war weapons exports to Israel. Really? Oh, I get it. It's actually just on hold. It's put on hold, the new exports, due to illegal and political pressure from legal cases arguing that such exports from Germany breached humanitarian law. These lawsuits, they've never won. Not one. No case challenging German arms exports to Israel has succeeded. No case. So, I'll play this tomorrow. It was very interesting. When you talk to an American, now there are some things that I disagree with, but I'd say 95% of what this man says is accurate. Hard to take, especially when we've all been under the spell of how great Americans are. But here we are. Do what's right. Speak what's right. Get yourself right. Be honest. Speak honestly. Live honestly. That is the only way out of the madness that we are living. And be ready for anything. I mean, World War, the official declaration, could be when you wake up tomorrow morning. Be ready for, a martial law declaration. Be ready for the migrants to be activated more and more to go against Americans. Oh, be ready for that economic collapse. Inflation skyrocketing. More and more homeless. Yeah, we're in a death spiral. So, yeah, be good to those that you claim to love. Help your friends and your family and your community members, and be a source of good. Don't just think it. Put it into action in your communities. And on that note, I say thank you for showing up. Hope to see you tomorrow night. And good night and good luck. Ciao, guys. Be safe. Be safe. Awareness. Get that awareness going. Ciao, guys.